The Harris-Walz campaign launched a 50-stop reproductive freedom bus tour this week that landed in the Peach State on Friday. Women negatively impacted by Georgia's 6-week abortion ban shared their stories, and they were joined by lawmakers urging constituents to cast their ballot for Harris and Walz to restore access to reproductive health care in the state. The bus tour kicked off in Florida, where Senator Amy Klobuchar did not mince words on who is to blame for the current state of reproductive freedom.
He is the one who got us into this mess. He's the one who has clearly stated, on video just last year, that he was proudly the one responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade. And Florida, you are going to hold him to it.
Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota joins us now. Good morning, Senator.
Thank you, Alicia. It's great to be on.
So how is the bus tour going? As someone who spent 45 days on a bus in 2010.
Not for the Democrats.
Yeah, we won't say which bus.
Yeah, we won't say which bus, but it is a very powerful way to connect with voters. I've always liked the idea of showing up in someone's backyard, and having sort of the family picnic, all together. What's been that experience? How is that messaging being received? Not just to the partisans, those who are already on board with Harris-Walz, but to the voters, because we've been talking about coalition building. We talked about Liz and Dick Cheney, for example. We saw Republicans like myself, I wasn't there, but Republicans in my framing at the Democratic convention, Lieutenant Governor Duncan and others. This is part of this coalition now.
Yes.
How is that messaging resonating, particularly given the sort of the focus of this bus tour?
Really strongly. You look at that first event, 10 miles from Mar-a-Lago, right in his backyard, to make the case that he's the one responsible for doing this. You look at where the bus went, places like Jacksonville, going to Raleigh, North Carolina next. And you are seeing a turnout of people. I had them come up to me in Florida. They're like, okay, I've been voting Republican, but I'm voting yes on Amendment 4. That's the one that makes sure that you get rid of this extreme 6-week ban. And so when you look at the facts in Kansas, when people turn out in droves on the prairie, you look what happened in Ohio, 13-point margin. Those weren't just Democrats. Wisconsin Supreme Court, those were independents, moderate Republicans turning out and saying, we believe in freedom, we don't like where our party's going, and we're going to vote with the Democrats on this amendment. And as you note, with Dick and Liz Cheney, with Adam Kinzinger, and all of the number of Republicans that have coming out, we're going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Anthea Butler had this from Tuesday on MSNBC. The abortion debate is turning into Trump's greatest dilemma. She writes, he knows that the draconian policies of his evangelical base are not popular, which prompted him to say unconvincingly that the Trump administration will be great for women and their reproductive rights. But he needs those white evangelical voters to stick by his side. Trump's frenetic shifting on the issue isn't about a lack of knowledge. It's about desperation. I agree with that. He seems quite desperate. He is like second, so he's a couple Republican endorsements away from being like, whatever you need, actually, I'm a woman. Like, what is going on?
Frenetic is such a good word. It's one headline, then the next headline. But it is important for people to understand where he really is. And as a former prosecutor like Kamala Harris, I just lay out the evidence. Exhibit A, he said he was going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Exhibit B, he put the justices on that did it. And Exhibit C, he said he was proudly the person responsible for doing it. I rest my case. Like, that is it. He is someone that has said he's going to do it, and he did it. And there's all kinds of things he says in between to try to get voters with him. But the facts are the facts on where he is on abortion.
We've been talking about the map and how the map has continued to shift. You're pretty bullish on Florida. I was intrigued listening to some of your comments out there on the trail. There are the numbers. There's also what happens when you talk to voters in the state. What is it that's making you confident about Florida?
Well, it is obviously we are pushing to move ahead, but the polls are getting closer in the Senate race with Debbie Musco Powell, who's a fantastic candidate. You've got the Medicare issue, which is huge down there. You've got the fact that it is the Biden-Harris administration that pushed on pharmaceutical prices. And then you have this abortion issue with this 6-week extreme ban. I mean, most women don't even know they're pregnant at that point. And so that is resonating because they have a ballot measure on the ballot. And you go to Georgia. And there you see, again, polls getting closer and closer. Kamala Harris doing so well down there. And Joe Biden had already won Georgia once. You go to North Carolina, where they have an extreme candidate running for governor. And all of this is really coming back to haunt them and opening up the map in the South, as well as we know the Midwest, West, for Kamala Harris. You look at their numbers in Nevada, you look at the improvements in Arizona, it just allows them to stretch the map to these other states.
You also have a big issue like cannabis on a lot of ballots across the country. So you have not just this appeal for the issue of around freedom and abortion, but you also have that personal freedom argument around, how I want to spend my evening. I got a little something make me feel a little bit better about my day. And that's resonating with a lot of voters out there. I mean, so it's not, I think my point is it's not just as someone to paint this sort of narrow play to abortion rights. What I'm taking away from it looking at it as a chairman was like the overarching theme of freedom. And it is and I think this is what makes it a little bit easier for Republicans like myself to sort of come into this lane, because it aligns with where we've always been. That at the end of the day, whether, the senator and I may agree or disagree on a policy, we do fundamentally agree that individual rights and liberties and freedoms are paramount. And I think that messaging seems to carry a lot more sway with the coalition voters that you're seeking.
Exactly. And you go there to the freedom to vote. I was thinking of Liz Cheney's words,
right.
And how important that is. It is part of the freedom, so that, you have different candidates. You should be able to make a sane decision about who you like better without a lot of lies, and then you should be able to vote. And so when you have them in Reverend Warnock's race at Georgia, ending voting on a Saturday out of the blue at the end, and he has to fight in court to get that done, or one ballot box in the county with Houston. Right. In Texas, it's like having one ballot box in the middle of my entire state, right. With the number of people that live there. Those kinds of things resonate, or the camo-clad people in the lines in Arizona. You wonder, in 2022, that mattered. 30-some% of people said they voted Democratic because of the freedom to vote, because they didn't want to have an assault on our democracy. And that's what you're hearing from a number of Republicans who, albeit may not agree with every single policy, but they believe as patriots that that is the most important thing, that we uphold our democracy.